Disclaimer, due to the video technical difficulties, this will now be an audio formatted podcast review. Please still enjoy the following audio content.
Hey everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to my NXT TakeOver War Games 2020 review. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button followed by hitting the notification bell so that way you are notified as soon as my content is released. Just like that's been my signature catchphrase here on YouTube for the last 11 and a half years, I feel like I've developed my own signature catchphrase for these NXT TakeOver reviews, and that's some are going to be good, some are going to even be okay, but you're never going to get a bad NXT TakeOver show, and once again, War Games 2020 does not disappoint. Now, just like I stated at my Survivor Series 2020 review, I was there last year for NXT TakeOver War Games 2019, and the crowd atmosphere was off the charts. Different atmosphere we're getting here this year is, man, it's crazy how things can change in a year, but hey, better times await. Therefore, let's get into this show. All right, the show kicks off with the first War Games match featuring the women. So it's Team LeRae, captained by Candice LeRae, obviously, with Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez versus Team Shotzi, basically featuring Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Ember Moon, and of course being captained by Shotzi Blackheart. It was interesting, as I don't watch the NXT shows week to week, so it looks like they've taken the NXT Women's Champion and put her in the backseat to build up Shotzi. A move that I don't fully understand, as I think you should want to always feature the champion as the top priority, but hey, at least she is in the match. And that's not to take anything away from Shotzi Blackheart, as I think she's very talented and definitely deserves to be pushed. It's just I feel that if your champion in the storyline is going to be a part of War Games, then the champion should be the focal point of the storyline as the captain. If that's the direction that you don't want to go in, then instead have another woman be in Io's place on the team and have Io as the champion, have her separate storyline defending the championship against another female superstar. Alright, there was a ton of action in this match, so I'm going to be looking at my notes here to recap all this. So Dakota Kai and Ember Moon start the match off. By the way, having witnessed Dakota Kai's heel turn at War Games last year in person, it is really cool to see her here this year in 2020 still rocking the heel persona. And some of the noticeable highlights we have is Ember Moon does a suplex on the top of the rope, basically, which ends up, grinding the body of Dakota as she kind of goes down that cage. And Ember Moon then hits a nasty dive through the ropes with Dakota in between the cage, and it was brutal, looked great. From there, we have Shotzi Blackheart enter, and she gets a bunch of tools that she basically brings into the ring, and they mostly double team Dakota because they have the advantage, which is something a little bit different. You usually get the heels getting the advantage for these War Game matches, but they decide to go ahead and have the baby faces. From there, Raquel Gonzalez enters next, and she just cleans house with Ember and Shotzi, and at one point, Shotzi Blackheart goes for a Hurricane Rana right off the, looks like the ropes, jumping onto the ropes with Raquel, but Raquel instead power bombs her onto the cage wall, and then from there, Dakota, and then even uses Dakota, she puts Dakota on her shoulders and kind of uses her like a baseball bat to basically beat down both women. So a great way of showing her power. Wade Barrett even goes on commentary to basically state that it's become a 3-on-1 handicap match there. So just putting over Raquel's power, like it's like basically she's so big and strong. It's like having two women in there to help Dakota out. We even get a cool moment where Raquel basically takes Dakota and throws her over the ropes, and then in midair, Dakota turns it into a flying double clothesline to hit Ember and Shotzi. From there, Rhea Ripley enters next, and she cleans house, mostly uses what I think looked like, or I guess it's supposed to be a hammer, but it looked more like a rubber hammer, as she started hitting Dakota in the stomach and the back with it. In a really cool spot, she takes her belt off, and I'm thinking if you just saw SmackDown, we're about to get a whooping part 2 here, just like Roman gave his cousin Jey Uso a whooping on SmackDown. I'm thinking that's what exactly Rhea's about to do to Dakota, but instead she wraps the belt sort of around around the shoulders and back, tying up Dakota like that, and then she just starts doing a huge headbutt to her. So that was really cool spot. And then from there, Rhea and Raquel, they just get into this big brawl, you know, like because they're the two largest women in the match and everything, just welling each other. From there, Toni Storm enters the match, and since I don't watch back to NXT shows weekly, it looks like Toni Storm has turned heel. So nice new dynamic to give her character something fresh as she's returned. And she comes in with kendo sticks. If we haven't seen enough of those kendo sticks in both WWE and AEW this year, that has become the go-to weapon for 2020. And then from there, basically Team Candice just beats down Team Shotzi from here with kendo sticks, and all 6 women are eventually laid out when they do these big moves from the corners of the opposite sides of one another in the ring. From there, Io tries to enter. Now, this is one of the parts that I thought was actually really clever in the match, but unfortunately its payoff kind of makes it not look so clever. So Io's coming into the ring, and basically, despite using a kendo stick on Raquel's hands, Raquel does this big boot to the cage door that knocks Io off, trying to keep her off, which is really off out of the ring, which is good as it protects the champion. Io has been a dominant NXT Women's Champion, so of course, why would these heels want to even entertain the thought of the Women's Champion getting into this match? So it really, I thought, did good in that sense to put over Io Shirai as a dominant force that you don't want to be reckoned with, as she should be. She is the champion. And from there, Io from here makes a second attempt that fails when she tries to get a ladder, but Raquel uses the ladder to knock her off, getting into the cage, knocking her off from the cage into the plexiglass that got outside. So there is no third time is the charm, as the third attempt for Io to get in fails, as after she's, you know, when you open the door and she's basically hanging from the part of the cage, she tries to swing in there, but Raquel knocks her off again, and a fourth attempt is spoiled by Raquel when basically she power bombs Shotzi onto the cage wall, the part of the cage wall that outside Io is trying to climb up on. And there you go. And once again, like I said, Rhea Ripley showing that you do not want the women's champion in this match. And then from there, Candice tries to enter last, but she's cut off by Io, who is then attacked behind by Indy Cardwell. Once again, I haven't been keeping up with the week-to-week NXT show, so I'm guessing something happened here to put her on Io's bad side, who then from there locks the door shut using, I think it was, she locks the door shut using the belt that Rhea took off earlier, so that was a great way to utilize and make Rhea pay for not keeping her belt on. And then from there, Team Candice just beats down Team Shotzi, so it's not looking good here from there. Particularly, Shotzi gets 3 kendo sticks attacked by the women, and it's just not looking good from this point of the match. And what ends up happening here is you have Io climb up to the top of the cage, and she ends up putting the trash can over her upper body. And I'm thinking, okay, just like last year, we're gonna get to see that cool moonsault off the top, but instead, Io jumps off in the cage with the trash can on her and lands on everybody, wiping them out. It looked like Candice LeRae got the worst of that, as it looked like the trash can popped her right in the head on the way down. So I like it. Innovative spots. Nice showing Io is able to think of what can I do this year in a match that I didn't do last year to keep both matches distinguished from another. Really like that touch. So from here, the match officially begins with all 8 women inside the cage, and Shotzi starts to make a big comeback, and there's a really cool breakup when Io does this moonsault on Raquel Gonzalez, but all 3 of her teammates are able to jump past the rest of the team when they do this pin, basically just like go right up under them, so it looked really cool. There is one weird part where Shotzi basically waits for Candice to grab a kendo stick, when I'm like, this is war! Go ahead and just start bamming the crap out of her with what weapon you already have. So I don't know, that was a weird spot in there. So there's this really cool spot where Dakota does a double stomp off the top rope onto the trash can with Io's upper body in it, and it dents the trash can so bad that Dakota's having a hard time pulling Io out of that trash can. So that was really cool. And of course the pinfall doesn't work. There is a painful looking spot here when Ember Moon does the eclipse
off the top rope onto Dakota Kai with 2 chairs sitting upright. That looked painful. It looked brutal. And what a heck of a risk to take, because Ember very well could have had her spine hit the edge, and that could have been it for her. So it was a huge risk to take, but it at least looked visually cool. From there, Storm hits her move, the Storm Zero, to Ember Moon on the trash can, but Io breaks up the pin. A lot of big moves, too much for me to probably recap here. From there, Shotzi pushes Candice off of the ladder, and Candice eventually even grabs up a chair, sandwiching herself between 2 chairs in sort of a defense, but Shotzi does a senton bomb, hurting both of them, particularly Candice LeRae, who suffered a legitimate arm injury from this spot. Hopefully it's something that doesn't keep her out of action for too long, as you hate to see these things happen. Then we come to the conclusion of the match, where it comes down to Raquel and Io, who are battling on top of the ropes, and basically from here, she delivers a 1-arm power bomb to Io onto the part of the it's through a ladder. Yeah, through the ladder that they set up in place, breaks the ladder in half, 1, 2, 3, and from there, Team Candice picks up the win. I didn't think the heels were going over, but they did, and even surprisingly, they gave the pinfall victory to Raquel over the NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai. In something like this, I thought Io would not take the fall, but maybe they're trying to prepare Raquel Gonzalez for a matchup against Io for the Women's Championship, heading for the takeover, whatever they're going to have in January, or the next big show coming up, which is, I believe, NXT New Year's Evil, which is going to be on USA Network. But overall, I thought it was a really cool match. A lot of great spots. Not as good as I would say maybe last year's NXT match. And then again, I was there in person and it had a crowd. It was awesome. Atmosphere was off the charts. And but overall, I thought this was a great attempt. Hats off to all 8 women. They went out there, busted their butts, and delivered what I thought, despite circumstances of the pandemic, being here at the Capitol Wrestling Center, they made the most of it, and very solid overall NXT War Games match. All right, the next match is Tommaso Ciampa versus Timothy Thatcher. So this is definitely a great calm down match, I would say, where it was going to be more grounded, more mat based, which is good. Makes every match different and a nice way to cool down. So once again, since obviously I don't follow the week-to-week shows, haven't been following storyline for this, but what you got here, Timothy Thatcher, like I always say, he just looks like this mean dude that's just gonna get in the ring and he's gonna ground you down to the mat and just like kind of put you in like this pretzel, basically twist you up in a pretzel until you beg for submission. He's gonna torture you with submissions, what was it, the catch can wrestling, I probably butchered that or whatever, and then you have Ciampa, who's been one of the baddest dudes in the land for NXT over the last several years, so it has that tough guy versus tough guy vibe going on here. The match starts off really hard hitting, it's very evenly matched, but then Timothy Thatcher ends up getting the upper hand on Ciampa for most of this match, and the commentators do a lot of talking about how fragile that Ciampa's neck is. Now, once again, have I been missing something? Let me know in the comments. For those that do watch the show on weekly, has he been targeting the neck or something? But yeah, they spent a lot of time talking about this, and they kept working on the neck and the throat, where they said that's where he had the surgery at. So that kept going on for most of the match, but Ciampa does eventually end up making, I think, a pretty big comeback with a big superplex, and it's really hard hitting from here. Ciampa is nearly put to sleep in a guillotine lock by Timothy, but Ciampa ends up getting out of it, and he ends up hitting the Willow's Bell for the pinfall 1, 2, 3. Would have been good to see Ciampa lose. I mean, I guess he's been losing a lot, obviously, with takeovers from what I've been hearing from others, but I thought, since Ciampa is the established star, and I know he doesn't want to go to the main roster, but he's been on NXT on top there for so long, I was thinking maybe it'd be nice to give Timothy Thatcher the win here and start building him up for that top spot, but we'll see where things go from here. But overall, really nice, solid wrestling match by both men. All right, next match we have is Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis in a strap match. I remembered, what was it, the Samuel Shaw, I think, yeah, it was his name in TNA Impact Wrestling. So once again, still great to see Dexter Lumis doing some cool things here. I did watch their Halloween Havoc match, which I thought was hilarious. Brought some fun sports entertainment aspect to NXT. But as far as this strap match here, it was pretty intense. I thought the beginning of the match was pretty funny with Cameron Grimes coming in saying, "It's my strap strap or no strap. But then it was all just to get cheap shots. One thing that I thought was really weird though about this match is he insisted so much on bringing his own strap. Through this match, that didn't really play a role in it. Like, what's the difference between the strap they had versus the strap that Cameron Grimes? Like, did he, like, sprinkle some sort of spice on there that I thought was going to be basically that he found out was, that Dexter was allergic to, and that was going to play a role in the match, but they didn't do nothing. So it felt weird. Even in the end of the match where I thought maybe he loosened it to take his wrist out the strap, that didn't even play a role. So I kind of don't understand what the purpose of that was. But yeah, it was an intense strap match where both guys were taking a lot of bumps, throwing each other over the barricade, through the plexiglass, off the ring apron, off the top ropes and everything. So it was really cool. And as the end of the match comes, there's a tug of war between both men. And I did think the finish was pretty cool where Lumis basically, he ends up wrapping the rope, the strap that they have. He ends up wrapping that around the legs of Cameron Grimes, trips him, and Cameron Grimes goes face first into a chair that was standing upright, and then from there he basically wraps the strap around Grimes' body and puts him into this submission. I forget what the submission was that he was trying to use to put him asleep with, and that's more of what I was saying about the beginning of this match, is that I'm thinking that when he's trying to get his wrist out, maybe that's why he used his strap, because he could loosen it, but once again that doesn't come into play, so I don't know what the purpose of that was. But he eventually, once Lumis gets the strap wrapped around the eyes of Cameron Grimes, he then ends up putting Grimes to sleep after he taps out, of course. Then he goes to sleep. And so I guess his feud with Dexter Lumis is over, and we'll see where that goes. And hopefully he is actually given a chance to get over, as opposed to having the rug cut right under him, as often is the case with these NXT talents that get called up to the main roster. Next match was the NXT North American Championship Triple Threat match. Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest versus the NXT North American Champion Leon Ruff. Having not watched these shows back to back on a weekly basis, it was surprising to see this storyline unfold, as I wasn't too familiar with Leon Ruff. It seems they went for this fluke type of win because of Damian Priest constantly interfering against Johnny Gargano. While I did enjoy that match from Halloween Havoc, I didn't know that the match was going to come here with like having him be like this third person on the wheel, wanting to prove that he is a worthy champion. So let's get into this match here. The main story was that Gargano and Priest are trying to fight, but Leon Ruff keeps finding ways to intervene, basically, and most of this match, Damian Priest is like, no, just get out of the way, go home, I just want Gargano. So you're just showing total disrespect for Leon Ruff as the champion, and basically from here, he gets fed up, and he power bombs Leon through the plexiglass, a barricade, knocking that down so much to the point that it causes the woman there to knock down the other barricade and plexi there. So I thought that was a cool spot. They take him out, and the match finally goes down to Johnny versus Damian. But eventually, not too long after that, Leon Ruff comes in, and he hits some really cool moves. There's this one part where he gets on the rope to Gargano, and he does like sort of this spinning corkscrew, if I said that right, cutter. So that was pretty cool, because I guess as being the smaller guy, he has to try and hit as many big impact moves there, basically, because yeah, I mean, compared to Gargano's size, Gargano looked like a giant. That's how small Leon Ruff is. When Johnny Gargano, who's not the biggest guy around, looks like a giant, you can imagine just how much smaller that tiny person's gonna have to work to be in the ring with both these guys. And let's not even get started on Damian Priest, who's basically a giant compared to both of these guys. And then basically towards the end, there's this constant attack from the ghost faces. I remember the ghost face in the Halloween Havoc match, but it looked like it evolved. I've been hearing rumors about who it possibly is. We'll get to that in a moment here. And they basically just keep attacking Damian Priest and eventually lays him out with a lead pipe. And in the end, Johnny Gargano scores the victory over Ruff in the ring. From there, when they get to the top of the stage, the main ghost face reveals himself in typical Vince McMahon 1999 higher power fashion. It was me all along, and he points to himself Austin Theory, the one who has been speculated for a lot. I heard a lot of people really wish maybe they brought David Arquette in here, basically just to play off the whole Scream ideal that they've been doing here. But yeah, it's Austin Theory aligning himself with Johnny Gargano, or maybe he was aligned with him previously. Once again, I don't watch the match shows from week to week, so forgive me. But yeah, Johnny Gargano gets the title back, which I figured he would. We'll see where they go with Leon Ruff, with what they've been able, the success they've been able to get with him so far. And in terms of Damian Priest, he's a guy who I think is bedded for the main event spot. It's someone who you could definitely see in the main event spot, and one of those guys that I really hope WWE on the main roster will take advantage of, because this guy just oozes main event status. I also forgot to mention we had this video package showcasing this vulture with a voiceover of TikTok, which basically to me seems like they are teasing the soon return of Karrion Kross, aka Killer Kross. And we even got another video package that also talked about Finn Balor returning as well. So we'll see if these two will be on a clash for the NXT World title. Man, we haven't had the NXT World title in a while due to these injuries. Now we get to the main event, the Men's War Games match, featuring the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong, and Adam Cole, baby, versus Team Mcafee, consisting of Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, Oney Lorcan, and Pat Mcafee. The video package for this was really well done, and big ups to Pat Mcafee, who I will say from the parts that I have seen over the highlights in terms of the weeks for NXT, has been really good. This guy gets it. Like I said when I first reviewed his first match, storytelling, promos, the psychology, just all those integral things that you need to make yourself stand out as a superstar in professional wrestling that doesn't rely solely on just the wrestling aspect. This guy gets it and is a large part of why I think this match really works, and even just the story build up and him building his team, even for guys like Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, who I believe from what I've seen in NXT of them so far, mostly known for their wrestling, and Pete Dunne, who I feel has a little bit of something there too as far as his character go. Pat Mcafee really helps complement them in terms of bringing the sports entertainment aspect to their great talents. That being said, this match starts off with Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly. The commentators make note that it is a good, smart move on Pat McAfee's team to start off with Pete Dunne, because he is the most experienced in that match, or he is the only one with experience in terms of that team. They exchange a lot of big strikes and submissions for the first part of the match. From there, Oney Lorcan is the next to enter, and Kyle O'Reilly does his best to try and fend off both men, but what can you do in a 2-on-1 situation, as it is too much for him to bear. Bobby Fish enters next and is able to even the odds a little bit towards the end, but Team McAfee ends up getting the upper hand once again, which then leads into Danny Burch being next to enter, and he brings this orange bag, which is revealed later on to have these two cricket bats, and Wade Barrett basically states that cricket bats are a lot harder than the regular baseball bats, and that's what they basically use to really take full advantage of this 3-on-1 situation to the Undisputed Era. From there, Roderick Strong enters next, but despite even early promise of being on the offense, Team McAfee gets the upper hand again for the majority of the portion that leads eventually into Pat McAfee entering, which, by the way, this is the second match that he's been in NXT, as mentioned before, and possibly his professional wrestling career, and like I said, much praise. This guy gets it. Like, this guy right here was just doing good heel 101 tactics, something you would expect a professional wrestler to develop as their career goes on through the years. This guy just comes right in and gets it just like that. And so from there, Pat throws a lot of chairs and tables, that like about 4 tables he throws in there, each one marked with the Undisputed Era's logo and the last name of each member. So I thought that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, this does not come into play that I was hoping it would. It would be nice if maybe you had 3 of the members all go through the tables and then Cole puts Pat through that table, but that's not how this all plays out. That would have really added a tremendous amount of great storytelling to the match. It would have been good, but I guess they didn't have enough time, but it would have been awesome, yeah, if all three members were laid out through those tables. But all three members do end up getting beat down from the Undisputed Era, and you have Adam Cole who comes out, but Pat McAfee and his team is just standing there waiting for him because all three of Adam Cole's partners have been beaten down, and so Adam Cole has to basically use a fire extinguisher and a chair to be the equalizer, officially beginning the War Games match. From there, Adam Cole basically tries to go after Pat McAfee, but he's intercepted by Pete Dunne. When Cole gets the upper hand on Pete, he's grabbed by Pat McAfee, allowing Dunne to take down Cole, is hit by a steel chair by Kyle O'Reilly, who unleashes a lot of trash talking on Pat McAfee, but it's all a setup as Pat gets hit in the back by Adam Cole. Eventually, Pat McAfee locks on the figure 4 leg lock while Team McAfee battles the other members of the Undisputed Era on the ring that's opposite of him, and Adam Cole has to reverse the figure 4 leg lock, but Pete Dunne eventually enters and breaks up the submission. As the match goes on, Danny Burch is eventually laid up on the table that says Cole, and after a failed powerbomb attempt to put Pete Dunne through that table with Danny on it, Roderick Strong climbs up and does a splash, putting both men through the table. And this is where, it gets to the part where it's like they really killed the really good storytelling here. What was the point in even marking down those tables if the psychology of the match wasn't going to be to make sure that those Undisputed Era members go through the specific tables that were designed from them? So that's one of my complaints about this match. Pat McAfee attempts to try and do a superplex to Adam Cole, but Cole pushes him off and he goes through the table marked down for O'Reilly's name really hard. Once again, like I said, just, you would have been better off just having regular tables in the match if this is what you were going to do. But it is a nasty landing for Pat McAfee, as I think his shoulders and upper back hits the table on the edge, crashing through it, and he had a long way to go as opposed to, full back through the table, so that looked pretty nasty. This puts Pat McAfee out of commission for a while, and the Undisputed Era starts doing a series of strikes to the rest of Team McAfee, who's pinned up against the cage outside of the ropes. When Pat McAfee comes to, he realizes that he is now standing with no team members. They've all been laid out by the Undisputed Era, and the Undisputed Era, all four, just jump him and start taking out their frustrations. And this is the type of moment that would have been so great if you had a crowd in there, because they would have went crazy for this. Once again, Pat McAfee doing a tremendous job as a heel, wanting you to see the baby faces get their revenge on him. So as this beatdown continues, while they're yelling he's not so tough now, the rest of Team McAfee finally recovers and they save him, and basically we get 3 different big moves from the top rope, from different parts of the rope that lays out everybody, and when everyone gets up, they're going at it, all 7 of them, one particular person being missing, and that is Pat McAfee, who has climbed up to the top of the cage and does a swanton bomb Jeff Hardy style, laying down everyone. My only complaint about this is I just wish that they would have had the camera locked on to Pat McAfee as opposed to having this wide shot where you can see all the Undisputed Era and Team Pat McAfee's team basically just standing there waiting to catch him. I understand they have to do that for safety reasons so that, Pat lands and doesn't injure himself, but just keep the camera focused on Pat so it just visually to us, the audience, looks like, holy crap, where did Pat McAfee come from? So I thought that would have been really good. That's my nitpick about some of these moves. They look too choreographed in order to suspend your disbelief. Wade Barrett even mentions on commentary about how McAfee is so rich, he doesn't have to do that, but he does, and that just shows you his dedication to, despite his inexperience, how well he wants to entertain the audience, which I definitely agree with. From here, we get some really close near falls exchanged between Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly. One particular spot, Pete Dunne, I think, does like a superplex or a suplex onto onto the metal portion of the structure that combines both rings. So that was pretty cool. So from here, Pat McAfee eventually comes in with a steel chair, taking out Kyle O'Reilly, who previously had some evil intentions planned when he put Pete Dunne's head through this chair that was standing upright. A lot of crazy spots with those chairs standing upright that could be very, very dangerous that we saw here tonight at War Games. From here, once again, Adam Cole tries to finish off Pat McAfee with the Panama Sunrise, but is stopped by Danny Burch. But not for long, as Bobby Fish ends up basically spearing Danny through the table, which ironically was meant for him because it had his last name on it, which I appreciate, because at least if you're going to utilize tables that are marked down for certain opponents in the match, at least get the irony of Bobby Fish putting through one of the opponents through the table meant for him. So I did like that touch. Great storytelling from that part. From here, Pat McAfee attempts to do the Panama Sunrise to Adam Cole, but is super kick mid-air, and in the biggest shocker of the match to me, Adam Cole, he hits his Panama Sunrise on Pat McAfee and surprisingly gets a near fall, and I'm like, oh, I legitimately thought that was going to be the end of the match, but it wasn't. Did not expect Pat McAfee to kick out of that, and at this point you're like, all right, what's going to end this match, as is often the case with these War Games? All right, so the ending sequence of this match is crazy. It's a good thing I got all these notes down here, because I wouldn't be able to remember all this off the top of my head. So Adam Cole goes for the last shot, but is intercepted by Oni Lorcan, who pushes Pat McAfee out of the way, sacrificing himself, getting hit with the last shot. Pete Dunne then comes in to step in with an enziguri behind Adam Cole. He then delivers the bitter end to Cole on the edge of the chair, and it's brutal. It looks like it just goes right to his gut. Looks like it's painful. That would suck. Once again, a lot of these edge to these upright chairs, just brutal. And then from there, when he goes for the pinfall on Cole, Strong pops up and stops him in the back, and Roderick Strong then delivers that really impressive backbreaker where he throws Pete Dunne in the air, and Pete Dunne comes crashing down on his knees. And then from there, Oni Lorcan, he then picks up a chair, tries to take out Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong ducks, and then Bobby Fish and Strong end up doing their double team move. I don't remember what the name of it is, and that ends up nailing Oni Lorcan, and the chair, basically he goes down to the ground with the chair because he's holding it down. When he goes down, lands on top of his face, which from here, Kyle O'Reilly does a tightrope of the top rope to the middle while holding on to the cage for leverage, jumps off, does a flying knee, coming crashing down on top of that chair that was laying on top of Oni's face for the 1, 2, 3, taking the Undisputed Era to victory in War Games. Whew, what a match. Awesome spots, awesome moments, really helped by, once again, like I said, Pat McAfee, who I think was, if I had to pick the star of the match, had to be Pat McAfee. Once again, this guy just gets the sports entertainment aspect of professional wrestling so well, and hats off to the other 7 guys who worked their butts off in terms of the in-ring work aspect. Really, everything just smoothed together here nicely. Enjoyed the match. Once again, am I going to say it was the best War Games match of it all? No. Honestly, I thought War Games 2019 was overall better than last year, but once again, NXT TakeOver delivers a really good, solid show from top to bottom. Not the greatest NXT TakeOver, but like I said at the beginning of this review, never a bad one. I never leave these NXT TakeOver shows disappointed and thinking the show was just utter crap. I just don't get that with NXT TakeOver, so hats off to Triple H and his NXT crew and the amazing talent that you see on the show, putting on, once again, another exciting 3 hours of wrestling action, and some nice little great storytelling in there. Once again, like I said, Pat McAfee, once again, it just impresses me. It impresses me how good this guy is in terms of the storytelling aspect of professional wrestling, to be this inexperienced in the business. That being said, check out my WWE Survivor Series 2020 review, and I will be back next time for a review of the 2021 Royal Rumble. In the meantime, here are my plugs. Thanks for checking out the video. Remember to share, comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that way you are notified when my content is released. And check out my upcoming short film, Battle of Deception. The trailer link is right there on the screen, in the description, and pinned comment below, along with the links to follow my social media platforms. Until next time, take care.